balanced attack. I'm feeling good right now. Russell Wilson led the way with 2 touchdown passes, and Seattle added 165 rushing yards. The Seahawks defense also held Kyler Murray in check with 3 sacks, including the game clincher on 4th down. The win helped Seattle take over first place in the NFC West. So, Acho, loser, did the Seahawks prove they're for real?
Bro, I'm so embarrassed by myself. I swore you were going to throw rock. I knew you were. I practiced. I was in bed last night.
Oh, that's what you were doing in bed last night? Chill.
Shoot. And then I come out here and get whooped on national television. I'm sick. But I'm about to win this argument. So
okay.
I'm about to win this argument, America.
Redemption.
So here it goes, bro. The Seahawks, they didn't prove they were for real because if you beat someone who I am not sure of, I'm not now sure of you.
I like that. I hear you.
If you beat a team that I'm not sure of, how can I become sure of you? The Arizona Cardinals, they won their first they didn't win their first 6 games. Through their first 6 games, they had played nobody. They had played the Jets. They had played Washington. They had played the Cowboys. They really hadn't played nobody. But then their last 4 games, they had played playoff teams. Okay, what happened in the last 4 games? You beat the Seahawks, but you do it in overtime.
It counts.
It's fine, it counts. I'm not mad at it, but I'm quantifying it. I'm not mad at it, but I'm quantifying it. Okay, you lose to the Dolphins, playoff team. Okay, you beat the Bills. It counts. Hail Mary. I'm not mad at it, but I'm quantifying it. I'm looking at the tape. I'm not just looking at the score. I'm looking at how the game actually unfolded. And now you lose to the Seahawks. So I wasn't sure of the Cardinals in the first place. I told you that yesterday's show. Now the Seahawks come out here and they beat the Cardinals, a team I'm not sure of. That does not instantly, Marcellus, make me sure of them.
Good point.
What did the Seahawks do? What did they prove? Okay, they had a pass rush when it mattered. What's crazy about this game, they only got 3 sacks. Only had 3 pressures.
Okay.
The sacks were also their pressures, right? 3 sacks is a solid amount.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you would assume 8 sacks pressures combined over the course of a game. You know that, you're a defensive lineman. They only had 3 sacks and really no pressures. They were actually more efficient than they were effective.
I'll give you that.
You got a sack to end the game. You drew a safety. Efficient, but not incredibly effective. So, as I look at it, they didn't prove to me that they were for real because they just proved to me they are exactly who we thought that they were. Capable of beating good teams, capable of winning 1-score games, not going to dominate you. But what did I learn? I didn't learn anything yesterday.
Whoa, the Seahawks proved a lot to me yesterday, and I predicted some of this. You guys go back to YouTube and check out our clips from yesterday and the day before. I actually said the same things that actually materialized in this game, which makes me proud. But let's start here because the Seahawks did prove things. As you know, as a former player, every time we walked into that locker room and after we went through a practice session, film session, whatever it may be, all the things that you have to load up in terms of intel and ammunition to get yourself ready to play. Coach would finally grab the group and look at you collectively and say, it's not about your opponents. It's about you executing, right? It's about you beating yourself more so than them beating us. So the Seahawks had to find a way, as I told you yesterday, find a way and find confidence in that way. It's a compass. Which direction are we going to take? Because let Russ cook was a thing for the first part of the season, 5-0. Of late, let Russ cook has started to boil over and not necessarily be the best way to play football for the Seahawks. So what did they go yesterday and do? They showed you the balance in their running attack. Finally, we see the running attack show up. Carlos Hyde back from his hamstring. What did he do? Season high, 79 yards and a touchdown. 123 rushing yards from the running backs. A season high. Second highest rushing total this season. And because they didn't have to let Russ cook, they didn't turn the ball over. But they turned it over in the last 2 games 7 times. So let Russ cook is not working as much because now you have balance, which is optimal for this team. But what did they also do on the other side of the ball? Defensively, I told you, the last game, only 23 points. You laughed at me. You look good in your suit, but you were laughing at me. I didn't feel you in that moment. Do you feel me now? Because the Seahawks defense, points per game allowed, with an average of 29.6 first 10 weeks, 21 yesterday, even lower than what I expected and predicted from yesterday. Net yards per game allowed. Look at this full screen. Less. Season low. Net passing yards per game allowed. Season low. All of this adds up to exactly what I said. First, you need a compass. You need to redirect where this team is going. You can't go in a pass-happy league letting Russ cook with this defense and this lack of running game. So they changed their direction. Balanced defense. But now they have the confidence in the direction that they're going. This is a for-real team because now it looks like a more complete team.
I don't hate that take. I don't hate that take, but I'm going to tell you what I told my producers yesterday, talking to them in preparation for the show. I've said this before. Can we bring up Marcellus Wiley's full screen again, please? Because I've said this, and it's made no clearer sense than right now.
What?
Marcellus, figures do not lie.
Well, liars
figure. When I look at those numbers, you're right. The figures are there. They're not lying, but you are lying to America. If you watched the game last night, Kyler Murray was hurt. Like, we literally watched it. So if y'all didn't watch the game and y'all are tuning into this show, you'll be like, oh, wow, those figures, they're not lying to me. They're not. But if you saw Kyler Murray, who I think it was the end of the first quarter, he messed up his throwing shoulder.
That's football.
Then you would realize that this liar is out here trying to figure some things out. So let me make it make sense for you, big dog.
Okay. I'll wait.
We have set the standard, I don't know why, we set the standard so low for the Seahawks that we see Carlos Hyde has 79 rushing yards, and we're like, I told y'all.
Off injury.
I told y'all.
3-game injury.
Bro, you're never healthy when you're playing football. You know that.
Well, they take away your Kyler Murray argument then. You're never healthy when you're playing football. See how
Second point.
Undermined.
We get the Seahawks defense has been so bad that we're like, they held an injured Kyler Murray to 21 points.
Oh, wait a minute.
Big dog, we can't set the bar so low for this team that you see 79 rushing yards and you jump for joy. You see 21 points on defense, which, by the way, is not great. You see 21 points given up and you jump for joy. I can't have the bar so low for this Seahawks team we rejoice over these small things. Like I said, I've said this to you before. I will not applaud a fish for doing what, Marcellus? For swimming.
For swimming.
I'm not going to applaud your argument for swimming, and I'm not going to applaud Russell Wilson for not throwing any interceptions. That's what an MVP is supposed to do. I'm not going to applaud this defense for holding a team to 21.
Interesting. It's a flip of personalities right now because when you talk about standard and holding someone to a standard, I've always been the person that's been an absolute standard giver, and you've been more of a relative standard giver based on circumstances, based on who they are, and you got to measure, judge a man by the distance traveled, right? Judge a team by the distance traveled. Do you remember the same Seahawks team that had 84 rushing yards in the win against Atlanta? I do. What about the same Seahawks team that had 98 rushing yards in the win against Miami? I do. And also the same team that only had 57 rushing yards in a loss to Buffalo. Close loss, but still a loss. So guess what? If you're smart, if you're astute, if you're Pete Carroll, you realize, hey, even in success, we still have issues to fix. And guess what? One of them is giving us proper balance. Finally, you go out there and you have proper balance in terms of the running game and the passing game. You always can go back to Russell Wilson and say, cook. But it's going to come with its issues. But if we say, let's go out there and keep perspective and keep balance, and defense, just chip in. Like, I didn't ask you, defense, to sponsor the party. Just bring a cup with something in it. And the defense finally showed up with that. You're talking about impact and efficiency and effectiveness. That's great, but that's a luxurious ask. Right now, in necessity, they needed a running game and they needed a defense, and they got it.
That's fair, but the question here is, did the Seahawks prove they are for real?
Yes.
They didn't prove to Marcellus. Here's my thing, and let me go. I had to jump a point because I had to beat you at your second point, but now let me get to my original, my OG second point.
Let's go.
I came into the game saying I need to see the Cardinals dominate. Because I said I'm not convinced about the Cardinals. If I don't see the Cardinals dominate, you were kind of saying yesterday you need the Seahawks to win because you need a little more convincing. I needed to see one of these two teams, which have kind of been a little enigmatic. I needed to see one of them dominate so I could get clarity. Why do I say that? Let's look at the super/dominant full screen I got pulled up. Of all the teams that I think are legit, look at teams that have won games and how many times they've won games by 14 points.
You think?
Buccaneers, they've won by 14 points 5 times. Chiefs, won by 14 points 5 times. Packers, won by 14 points 4 times. Saints and Steelers, they've beat teams by 14-plus points 2 times. But then when you get to the Seahawks, they haven't dominated an opponent all season long. The only one you can say maybe is the Falcons, week 1. Right? Like, that game was very lopsided. 13-point game, but very lopsided. They beat the Patriots by 5. Beat the Cowboys by 7. Beat the Dolphins by 8. Beat the Vikings by 1. Beat the 49ers that are hurt by 10. Then you lose, and you lose. Now, a win is a win. 25% of games are decided by 3 points or less. I've said that. I say that all the time. But when it comes to the playoffs, bro, you going to trust 4 straight coin flips? Is that what you're going to do? Because in the playoffs, you're playing playoff teams. When you look at the Seahawks, their last 4 games, 3 of the last 4 games have been against playoff teams. You lost once, you lost once, you lost once, and then you